But first now, let's bring in tonight's panel, Sky News contributor Jo Hildebrand and host Liz Storer. Great to see
Sherry,
you.
how are you?
Hello. Now, I just want to add to this a couple of extra points that I've learned tonight during my many phone calls on this matter. Firstly, it looks like the Liberal Party is not going to expel Matt Kean. The Liberal Party needs his support, or they think they need his support for the upcoming by-election in his own seat. Meanwhile, Peter Dutton's office doesn't think this is such a terrible move to have Matt Kean in this role. They say that that the people who know him dislike him, that he's unpopular, and that having him on the side of Albo won't help their case pretty much in the same way that having Chris Bowen as Energy Minister also diminishes their case because he is so strongly disliked. Liz, what do you think about this? I mean, Australians haven't warmed to Matt Kean. There were multiple policy failures in New South Wales. Chris Minns has had to reverse the closure or delay the closure of Eraring. So it is a curious decision, and it looks like Labor thought it was just being too smart to make this move.
Too smart by half. They're like, look, we've got a Lib on side. He's going to be heading it up now. Look at this independent body. Look, perhaps it was a bit of stroke of genius on their part, because that does now look quite bipartisan. But Matt Kean has been the left of the party for a very long time. I know you said he, used to head up the moderates. I think there are a lot of moderates who would disagree with that, even if that was his official position. I think that this is a perfect appointment for Labor. This is where Kean has always belonged, heading up the Climate Communism Authority. It's a hand-in-glove appointment. But what I can't get over is how quickly he's just switched from being re-elected, doing his thing, to just stepping out the door for a by-election because he got a better offer, basically.
Well,
so
it depends
people have
on the
elected
timing.
you.
It depends on the timing, and there's a lot of thought that this was a very last-minute appointment, that he announced his resignation to join the private sector. And by the way, on Tuesday, I think, and by the way, there's a lot of inside speculation that Matt Kean might go work with Malcolm Turnbull. He's got a renewable energy company. Malcolm Turnbull and Lucy Turnbull were at Matt Kean's valedictory speech. So there's a lot of speculation he might go join the Turnbulls. But Jo,
I do find that hard to believe, though, don't you? That he resigns like less than a week ago and says, it's to join the private sector. And within a week, he's just got this amazing opportunity and he's off to work for...
It's perfectly possible.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a bit hard to swallow, I think. And what to say of the fact that, now we've got to fork out for a by-election. This is a guy who ran. Obviously, when you run, you're promising your electorate, I'm going to stick around.
That sort of stuff happens all the time.
But he leaves for a better role.
I think the problem is, firstly, Matt Kean announced his resignation from the Parliament on the day of the New South Wales state budget that was handed down by Daniel Mooking, a magnificent human being, one of the Holy Trinity of Chris Minns, Daniel and Prue Carr. And that was seen very much among the New South Wales right of the Labor Party as a real sort of dog act, a sort of, look at me, trying to divert all the attention to him as Matt Kean is wont to do at a time when the New South Wales government has delivered $5 billion in social housing, something no one can actually remember doing. Probably the best state budget I've ever seen. Anyway, point being, I talked to a lot of people in the Labor Party that night, and the idea that if that had been known, that Matt Kean was about to take up a cushy Labor job federally on the day he was doing that, these guys are very, very sensible, practical, calm and common sense people, but there would have been a riot. People would have been limb from limb.
Which is why they just didn't reveal it till now.
And that tells you how...
The sense I've got, but, haven't confirmed it yet, but the sense I've got is that this is a last-minute thought bubble. A captain's pick from Albanese was taken to Cabinet at the last minute. And Chris Bowen was asked about this today, whether it was a captain's pick, and he just said, it went through the usual processes, which meant presumably that it was taken to Cabinet.
But then also that is to assume that Kean just left for no particular job.
Maybe it's changing. I thought I
without knowing this was coming up.
But it didn't go through the usual process of applying for it. It was a captain's pick in the sense that Chris Bowen said, I want Matt Kean. Cabinet went, all right, there you go, you can have him. Okay, what single vote does this shift? Like, how does this shift the debate on climate? Is anyone going to say, oh, I was a climate skeptic, but now Matt Kean's on board, suddenly I believe? Of course not. Do people who already believe in climate change and want strong action on it are not the government's problem. So they're just preaching to the choir with Matt Kean without bringing anyone.
This is a question of believing in climate change. I mean,
no, but believing in the extent of the action
about
that is
how
needed.
you manage
That's
the
right.
transition.
But the point being, instead of having someone who is, someone who is extremely and openly non-partisan, someone who is perhaps a bit of a surprise, someone who would have thought, I wouldn't have thought they were all in on it, like a leading business figure or someone like that could say, right, I'm just going to run the ruler over the economics of this action and tell you why A, nuclear doesn't stack up, or B, renewables do,
let's have
whatever
a look
it is.
at this